Join me as I show you how to put together my DIY succulent kit. As you see, we have all the components we need. We've got our pot, our substrate, our succulent, and some glue. So I got two kinds of glue there, and one is, it's no mystery, it's the little vials are actually a tacky glue, and then we have that little mini E6000 for you, and they're all going to be put together in that upcycled little succulent pot there. And as you see, the first step is we're just going to pour some of that substrate into the pot, and we're going to see, this is all up to you about how high you want it. So you can see me just kind of testing out, starting low, adding a little bit more as I go, just to see how tall I want that succulent to sit in that pot. And then we're going to put that succulent to the side for a moment and add the glue. So this glue is watered down, so it's going to go in really easily. But what we really want to do is to make sure that there's an even coating all around it, and to make sure, as you see there, get those edges. That's going to be really important to make sure that you make a solid layer so that your substrate will not come out and won't be loose and make a mess on you. You may not need to use everything in the vial, you might. I had just a little bit left, so I decided to just put the little bit left in there, but I didn't even have to use that much. Just want to make sure to have a nice even coating. Now that you want to let dry for about 6 to 24 hours. So this is now the next day. So I'm going to start the next part of the process. And the reason why we wait that long, as you see here, that's the E6000. I'm just using mine. It's a little bit goopy because it's been open for a long time, but I'm just using my big one. But it's the same exact stuff as you'll have in your kit. You'll just have the small version. But again, why we want to make sure to give it that 6 to 24 hours to cure is just to make sure it's going to be solid, because once you're adding more layers, you want to make sure that your lower layers are already dried out. They may not be 100% dry. There may be some under layers that still have some liquid glue there, but they will eventually dry out over the next week or two. So don't worry about that. We're just wanting to make sure to have a nice solid base here. And as you can see with the E6000, I'm just making sure to get the little bits between the leaves to give it a nice place to grip on, as well as the bottom. So between getting the little bits between the leaves and the bottom, that'll give you a nice good grip into that substrate. I'm just rechecking to make sure I'm nice and even in there, and we'll let that dry again 6 to 24 hours. It does take 24 hours for E6000 to cure, so that's probably the best before adding another liquid layer near it. Here I'm just showing you that tacky glue that's used inside the vials. Again, that's just water and tacky glue. So now it's been another 24 hours, so we are going to add the next layer, the last layer of substrate. So all we need to do is fill it into our desired height. I like to just make sure that I cover the base of the succulent and make sure it's nice and even. If you have a larger substrate with like little rocks, you might pour a little bit in and then end up just adding some rocks. That's why I always make sure that there's extra substrate in there so that you can add, if you know, the right shaped and size of rock to make it look good for you. And if you get any extra sand in there, you can just pop it out with a toothpick, or leave it in there till after the glue dries and just knock it out afterwards. Here I'm just bumping it to try and even out that sand, and showing you I still have a little bit of that root showing, so I'm just going to add a little bit more sand, and then I'll go ahead and even that out. This is not an exact science. This is your art piece, so you can do it to how you like it. Again, knocking a few of those little pieces of sand out of those leaves, but not a big deal if they stay in there. You can always knock them out later. And now I'm adding that glue. You probably won't use the entire vial of this one, but I just want to make sure you have some extra in case you spill it like I did. Again, we're just getting the edges and making sure you get a nice even coating. I'm getting a little bit messy here just so you can see that if you do get a little messy or not perfect, it's a-okay. Not the end of the world, easy to clean. We just want to make sure we get the sand on the edges and next to the succulent so you don't have any that falls out later. That way if you drop it, if you've got a cat that knocks it off your shelf, you don't have to worry about that. You do it just a little drop at a time. And now look at this mess I've made. So here I'm just using a little bit of paper towel and water, just wiping it right off. Not a big deal, real easy. It'll come right off, and that water will just help to dilute it as you wipe it off. And you can see I got a little bit into the succulent leaves too. So what I'm going to do for that is I am going to take a ear swab and get that wetted down. And that'll help further dilute the glue that's already in there. Make it come out a little bit easier. You can also pinch that ear swab with a cotton just so that it has a little bit more of an edge to it and get in those crevices if you want to do that. Tacky glue does dry clear. So once it's fully dried, it will dry clear. So again, just showing you don't have to overly worry if you're just a little bit messy. And voila, 24 hours later, fully cured, not a grain of sand getting dropped. Enjoy!